Hey team, on this episode of the Epic Table podcast, we have host of Eater's Digest podcast, Dan Geneen himself. He challenges me to work with lotus root, which I use twice in this awesome curry. And at the same time, we learn how important it is to get a seat at the table and then learn how you can provide a point of difference in whatever company you're involved in, particularly food media.
Do I say anything now?
Dan Geneen, welcome to the Epic Table podcast.
Dan Churchill. Thank you for...
Mate, I've never had a handshake before this show.
Really?
Yeah,
you gotta wash your hands now, I guess, if you're cooking me food.
Mate, this is awesome. A couple of reasons. We've both got our hat backwards, and they're both white.
I only did it because I was like, will I look as good as you if I turn my hat around?
Well,
I just looked at my phone and the answer is no.
Can I be honest? As soon as Maddie sent through the option of you coming on today, I just saw Dan. I didn't even know what you did.
Yeah.
I was like, he's got a great
name.
name.
He's got a great name. And it took you, how long did it take you to figure out what I did? Like another 30 minutes?
I actually didn't know until 2 seconds ago. Yeah. No.
I've been sitting here for a bit.
Mate, you and I have been chatting we met about 45 minutes ago and it's been non-stop banter.
Yeah, it feels like 5 days.
Yeah, I know. It's great. Imagine if we were in a campsite together. That'd be fun times. But dude, you're a part of one of the, I guess, most influential media companies for me personally and a lot of people in Eater. You're the co-host of Eater's Digest, the podcast, and a producer for them. So your day sounds like, I know you probably had people sum this up, but you probably you have the best job ever is probably said a number of different times. But it would be pretty cool understanding the food world. Are you New York only, or do you carry across this?
Do I stay seated for this? I feel like...
Do you want to stand?
No, I don't know. I mean, I just...
Like, what do I do with my hands?
Fucking, yeah. Okay.
Also, / comedian, by the way, we'll say.
Starting, really just trying to make my way out there, just trying to get noticed. I do have the best job ever. I always, it's funny because like people always ask me that, like, oh, you must have the best job ever. Do you eat at all the restaurants? And like 90% of the things that people assume we do, we definitely don't. Okay. But like when I get home and I'm like, can I swear?
Yeah.
A lot or a little bit?
Go ham.
Okay. I'm actually a vegan, but when I get home and I'm like, shit, I'm like, if I really boil down what my stresses are, it's always, like the venison episode of whatever, like didn't turn out the way I wanted, and it's like I can't, there are people with real problems.
Yeah, no, I respectfully totally get it, but that's also like for you, that's what matters in a way. Do you know what I mean? I think that's always a really important thing to reflect. That we all have our own things that are particularly important to us. That's why it's really important when we're in relationships to understand how our partner is.
This is where it ends for me.
Yeah. You have trouble?
Trouble implies that you've started something.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right, that's another episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude. So like you obviously throughout the day you're either talking about food, living food, or restaurants or chefs.
Yeah, I have a really cool job because I work on the video department and I work and I do the podcast. So video stuff is a lot about like what's going on in New York, like what cool things can we show on camera that are, and we can talk about this forever, but the relationship between things that do well and stories that we want to tell is such a pain in the ass.
Right.
But we're looking for cool things to do on camera, and then the podcast we're looking for national trends, we're looking for international trends, and we're just trying to be like funny. So I get to balance it.
So do you have a lot of creative control over the clickbait names that you have for your podcast?
The clickbait names?
Yeah, those names are fantastic.
Let me do some digging. So you were saying our names are clickbait?
Like I look at it in a good way. Like
how to get into any restaurant?
Yeah, things like that are fantastic. Really good SEO.
I have found, thank you. Actually, titling YouTube videos has been infinitely impactful for me.
Sure.
It's amazing how much simplicity matters. Someone once told me that like in every good title you have, I can't even remember what the word is called, but something has to be the best of something, or like you have to find a way to distance everything that you do from the pack. So whatever you're talking about, it has to be like, if how Dan has created the biggest font on any olive oil bottle of all time, like
wow. I want to watch that. That's great.
No, but seriously, but doing that, like if you can tell a small story. We've had something really interesting happen, which is where anytime we label a podcast, like everything you need to know about non-alcoholic drinks in 2019. As long as we come through on that small idea it sells very well, much better than like I see podcasts and I see videos sometimes that are called like The Drink Show or like have a few cocktails with this, and it's just like I don't know where that begins and ends. So that promising a narrative for me has been like the most important thing title-wise. That's my titling spiel.
Wow.
Let me know if you ever want to talk titles.
There you go, dude.
This happens to me all the time.
Sure. So anyone listening who's creating their own blog,
you.
Oh, me specifically.
Yeah.
Okay. So no one else can listen. Right?
No one else. No one else. Don't slide in my DMs and ask if their title has the right wording.
Man, that's a massive leg up though when you're talking about titles and stuff. But before we got to this point, you obviously had to. You've been at Eater for 4 years.
About 4 years, yeah.
4 years. Did you always have interest in food? Did you cook, or did you always just go to restaurants?
Oh man, I've never done my trajectory
Let's do
out loud before.
Let's do it out loud. Will you say it in your sleep or something?
I mean, in a setting, in a public setting. No, it's actually pretty weird. I started, I did English in college.
Cool.
Basically flunked out after 2 years. Came to New York. Again, didn't know what I was doing, and then did more English. But while I was there, I started interning at Howard Stern at the radio show, and I would make like on-air bits. None of them really went through, but I would just do like savage jokes that if they ever got surfaced, you know, it's somewhere actually in one of my boss's emails is a radio clip that I made for Howard Stern, and I don't want it to get out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she never listened to it, but it's not like problematic or anything. It's just vile.
Okay.
Vile.
Does it
not my style.
Okay, so I was gonna say, does it paint an accurate picture of your comedy? No, it doesn't.
Oh no.
Okay.
No, I you know, we can talk a lot about the origin, like what people do when they start doing comedy, which is just like straight sex stuff about themselves.
Sure.
And anyway,
I find it's always like deprecating.
Self-deprecating, or you know,
Anyway.
I was actually telling Katie before we got here that the joke I hear all the time on open mics right now is about people are joking about intermittent fasting a lot.
Oh, that.
It's like intermittent fasting. It's called being poor. If I have to hear another fucking person make that joke, I'm gonna flip. Like it's you know, if 9 people make the same joke, it's not a clever joke. Anyway.
That's the first time I've heard it. So I think
really?
That's hilarious.
Okay,
that's great. You can use that again with me. What else have you heard at other? This is gonna be perfect.
Yeah.
You've heard all this open mic.
All this garbage.
And now you can say it for the first time.
There's a reason that I'm such a stubborn prick. Like I don't. If I hear more than one person talking about a thing, I'm like, I'm never talking about that. Other things that, I mean, paleo, gluten-free was a huge thing for a while.
Sure. Do
I
you still get a bit of that, or?
There was a joke about like Trump being Putin-free that I heard recently. Like that.
Can I just say though?
Didn't really make sense.
Can I say? Yeah. I think it's like I want to relate this, and this is actually kind of serious. It's like relating, seeing I don't know, cauliflower gnocchi at Trader Joe's.
Let's get into that.
Well, that's like, for me, seeing that is almost like affirmation that health is real, because when people are making jokes about it, if comedians, no offense to comedians, not intentionally, essentially.
That's our thing. We can take it.
Right. You can,
and then we'll cry later.
But if you guys are talking about it, it's clearly something that's caused a lot of stir. So when talking about gluten-free, not that everyone should be, or veganism, or keto, or paleo, whatever it is, it means that it's got enough buzz behind it that someone actually believes in it.
It's validation.
Exactly.
Yeah, actually, it's interesting. I've been talking a lot recently with the team behind Impossible Burger.
Sure.
And I'm blanking, but they were telling me that this crazy lobbyist, this guy named Vermin Berman, I'm forgetting his name. He's the guy behind Thank You for Smoking.
Sure.
This guy who is like probably one of the most evil people in the world, has defended all of the worst things for humanity as they fade out. Like smoking's not that bad, or like beef is not that bad, or like factory farming is not that bad. They hired Big Beef hired this guy recently to blast Impossible and to blast these meat substitutes, and from him is where you're hearing all these things like, yeah, but Impossible's GMO, and like, yeah, but Impossible has all this, like, what, 400 ingredients in a burger? That's a disaster. And so it's super fascinating hearing that stuff disseminate from him. But also, they were like, fucking great. They brought on the devil to try to save their folding business. I mean, it's not folding. It's not probably 30 years that they're going to start feeling it.
Sure.
But they were like, that's validating for us. I was like, that must be scary. He so many more people smoked because of that guy. And they're like, hell no. that means we're winning. And so that was, I mean, that's cool. But I would love to hear about you hearing gluten-free jokes, because like it's super funny, but it's also that sounds cool that it's like I'm doing something because people are shitting on something I'm doing.
That's exactly it. So like I'm not gluten-free. My mom, I actually started cooking gluten-free because my mom needs to be. She's celiac to a degree.
Celiac, I've never been able to say this before. Sounds too much like celeriac, and they're always people. People know the same thing.
So does everyone walk up to Charlie Street and go, "I'm a celeriac," which means I can only have celeriac.
Celery root, yeah. Celery root, by the way, I know I trolled you by asking you to cook me lotus root today.
Yeah. Celery
root was up there, but celery root's a little easier. So
yeah. Can we just talk about that? So guys, on the show, you all know I get our guests to always request something. Some are a bit more chilled. Dan went all out and asked for a lotus root. Which is this lovely number. It's a very starchy, unique ingredient. When you actually cut it, I'm going to show. So when you cut the cross section of it, you have these almost like what would you call Swedish? Not Swedish. Oh my god, cheese.
Doilies? Oh, Swiss cheese.
Swiss cheese like holes, but they go all the way through the cross section.
Yeah.
And if you cut them and fry them, they're very starchy, so they fry up and textural, but they also take a while to break down. So,
so you're already fucked.
Yeah, I am. Absolutely.
I know I'm charming, but like you should have been. That should have been on the pot when I walked in.
Yeah, I'm just gonna rely.
You're gonna just like chop it up real small and be like, here.
Absolutely.
Minced celery,
which is
minced
actually
lotus root.
really interesting. You know that not in a bad way. Automatically, my thought process was as a chef to make this work at all. I have to make it really small, surface area, a bit of chemistry, a bit of physics. But you knew that. Is that because of cooking?
Well, you haven't even got. I cooked. I mean, we haven't gotten past Howard Stern. Let me pause you.
Sorry.
I'm
Back to Howard Stern.
Basically, I'm problematic.
Okay.
Right, and then after that, I don't remember how it happened, but I was working there, and then some things happened in Toronto. I'm Canadian.
Oh.
Yeah, we're both international. That's probably.
Wait, no wonder why we get along so well. We're both from the Commonwealth.
Right. Do you know that there's a person in charge in Canada of who is the Queen's representative who has to approve all bills that go through?
Is it called the Governor General?
Nope, the Guardian of the Black Rod.
I'm leaving that silence for a particular way of just do I have the ability to laugh right now?
I'd
say it again.
I was telling you seriously. The Guardian of the Black Rod. I mean, listen.
It
is what it is.
I don't think this show's ever been so funny.
They came up with it, not us. I'm not sure if that is funny. I don't know why. So you'd have to.
Oh, sure. Yeah, totally.
It's a little bit of science, a little bit of physics.
Yeah, you work it out.
Right? Yeah. Surface area. Anyway.
Okay. So talk about Howard Stern.
Howard Stern. So I went back to Toronto, and then I came back here, and I didn't know what I was going to do. I was about 24 years old, 25, and I'd always wanted to cook.
You did?
I always wanted to cook. I come from a food family.
Okay.
It's for another show, but my aunt's a famous Canadian cookbook author. My grandma owned a cooking store.
Is your mom like the Martha? Your grandma like the Martha Stewart?
My grandma was like a Scottish Jew who, when I was like 5 years old, I'm 29, so that's 25 years ago, she would teach me to make pickles with things like mirin and things like rice wine vinegar. And so growing up, like Asian ingredients to me weren't Asian ingredients. They were just ingredients. And like that completely, I don't know where I'd be without that in terms of my understanding of like culture and food, but also just everything.
So
like that's cool. Grandma Pearl, shout out. And she was also like, she was 5'1" and would do handstands and smoke cigarettes at the same time in her kitchen. She was a nutcase, but love her to death. Anyway, so I cooked, and then I cooked professionally. I mean, professionally, I worked for free for like a year here.
Okay, well,
don't tell the government.
So you got paid cash?
Sometimes, yeah.
Okay, and what were you doing?
I was on the line at this restaurant called Tomi in the East Village.
Okay, before you got to the line though, were you prepping? What were you doing?
Oh, sorry. I went to culinary school.
Okay, yep.
And then I worked garde manger, and I worked my way up to fry station. I never made it to veg or to meat because I sucked and I was too big and awkward. But,
actually?
Yeah.
Like, in all seriousness? Okay, and you just got too funny, essentially.
I would crack too many jokes, and I have gotten better at picking my spots, but I was not great at picking my spots. I would always I was there for the banter, you know, people talking shit. People just say the most evil, like it was a friendly, good people kitchen, but people just say the most evil things to each other in a kitchen with a smile. And
yep.
Yeah, and I would just stop what I was doing. I remember I was meant to fry these sweet potato, these taro tots. They were tater tots.
Taro tot.
Yeah, and I would put them in, and my chef would say, "Don't fry these until we go to the pass with whatever dish they were going with. Don't fry them yet." Every time he would call them, I would immediately fry them because I just wasn't paying any attention. And then by the time I did it like the 30th time, he'd be like, "Are you serious? Like, how? I've told you so many times." Anyway, so I cooked for a bit, and then I started, and then I went to grad school for journalism, wrote about food, came on to Eater just to produce the podcast for a while because I knew how to use audio software because I had worked for Howard Stern and made music. And then I just started eating up more Eater responsibilities, just devouring the institution, you know?
That's a really great pun double meaning /
Thanks.
little shout out to Eater as you say that.
And you know, it's changed a lot since I've been there. And
has it?
yeah, and it's like I feel really I feel a lot of gratitude actually that I got a spot there because I meet with people who are way smarter than me now who are like, I want to work in food media, and I was like, do you even know what that means? Like, where do you think you want to work? Like, they all end up at some Instagram thing where they're like taking pictures of cakes because there isn't jobs. So I'm really fortunate that like I had a skill, I got in, and then like once you're in, it's a lot easier. But yeah, it's changed a lot. And it's grown in prominence, and it's a fun place to be.
Man, let's just. We're about to hit a break, but I want to hear as I pour this lovely flavored oil into the fry pan.
Yeah. It better be flavored with enzymes to help you break down that lotus root.
Garlic enzymes and a little bit of turmeric, which
Cool.
we know anti-inflammatory, fantastic for those systems. But man, like I think that's probably the most humilifying. You did English.
I expressed humility. I don't know.
There you go. That's
I'm
nice.
actually not. Like, I can go on rants, but if you're like, what's this word? It's not my thing.
English, dude. I did Australian. You did English.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, like that's probably a really cool
failed
moment there for a
Australian.
second. So, did you, when you were in the moment of actually working for say a year and a half, did you realize how fortunate you were? Like you were gratified, but like were you?
When I started at Eater?
Yeah.
No, I was delusional, and I believed that I would get it. Like I was like.
Which is, there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. To
Yeah.
have that thought of going into something, you don't go into something going, oh, you know, like sometimes you can see an opportunity like it's overwhelming.
Right.
But you got to own it too. You can be like, I'm the best person for this job.
Well, I'll tell you, there were some things early on that that gave me some confidence. Like when I was producing the podcast, I would take these little segments where the two hosts were just talking about a random thing. So, I mean, whatever, it's lotus root. And they would try to do like, that smells really good.
Thanks, man. Garlic, turmeric, and oil. Done.
Yeah. One of the most impressive ways I've seen of not utilizing the beautiful shape of the lotus root. Other than that, though, I can't wait. It's like minced garlic in there. But I had these little 3-minute segments, and I realized that I could take 7 minutes of conversation and turn them into 3 minutes. And I realized, and they would be like, "You're so good at ending these. Like you knew how to round out the segments. You know how to control this conversation and like hit the button," which means like the last line. And I realized that I would have other people try to do it, and no one could really do it. So that there was conversationally, I realized that there were some things that I was good at early on. But yeah, it was mostly just delusion.
Epic, man. Well, as this olive oil infused with garlic and turmeric and ground up what looked like garlic, lotus root simmers away, we'll hit a break. I'm going to touch a bit further on what you just said when we come back. So guys, playing home, we have olive oil, which we've actually infused earlier today on a recipe that you guys will be seeing on Instagram, with some garlic and some turmeric. We then ground up some lotus root and added that in, let it simmer for about 10 minutes. And now we've added in some spice. We've got some turmeric, we've got some cumin, and along with some paprika. Now, as that's kind of come together, it's formed almost like a really thin paste. And I'm just going to add in some coconut milk. So this has become like a spiced lotus root curry. And I'm going to allow this to kind of blend together even further. Interestingly, would you say that lotus roots are probably more like a demulcent, where they actually gel up a little bit after time, and they also hold their flavor, they actually absorb flavor very well?
Yeah, I would say if it's closest to a water chestnut.
There you go, exactly. So it holds it really nicely.
I love everything that you've put in here.
Yeah, even the lotus root? Especially the lotus root.
Yeah, I feel like at this point, I mean, it's just a good thing that happens to have some charred little bits of lotus root in it. But I can't wait to eat it. Oh my god!
You know what I'm going to do right now? I'm going to go ham. I'm going to add a really thin slice of lotus root.
Maybe it'll thicken it up a little.
Yeah, you never know. Let's get this right. But as we talk about, let's talk more about food media in general. Now,
Sure.
through the break, oh, look at that. We were talking about how food media is a very, I guess, desirable place to work.
Mm-hmm.
But also, it's actually still not big enough to have so many jobs available, or the ones that you see. Now, what you do is your job came about from you being part of a company that has a number of different touch points, and you showed your benefit from being a part of that, which is great for growth. So sometimes people go into jobs and they may not get the job they want, but they want to be part of a company and they know that company is exciting. And then, a couple of years down the track, they just have a role that is so suited to them in an environment they love. So it's like a bonus point, right? That's one way that people talk about it. But there's also like the desire to be someone. So like, someone of influential standard or stock. How is it for you these days and seeing so many things go out on Instagram and across other competitive media outlets? How do you always look at things and trying to, firstly, be different, but stay as Eater? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, Eater's really good. Eater tries everything. I don't know if I can speak for Eater as a whole in terms of, I guess you're saying like, how do they stay relevant in this changing landscape?
Yeah, that's a great way of summing up what I just said.
Sure. Well, they try everything, right? So like, is Instagram TV a thing? Like, is it? I don't know.
Well, interestingly, my videos do really well on IGTV because people like the longer format to an extent.
So when IGTV rolled out, we put one video on there where a guy named Cliff made some kind of frozen drink using a drill and a watermelon, like drilled in the watermelon.
You're kidding.
And that crushed, right? And that bombed on YouTube. Didn't do a single view on YouTube, and it just was such an IGTV thing. So we're like, oh, cool, IGTV has its own unique market. We should do hacky stuff on there. So maybe we put some more hacky stuff on there, and then it didn't do anything. So I think Eater's really, really good at trying a thing. So I mean, I'm sure you've heard a bunch of like these OTT platforms coming out. Whether it's Netflix or even what's it, Quibi or whatever that.
Oh, Quibi. Yep.
Yeah. So like, Eater is very, very good, and Vox as a whole is very, very good at like giving you resources to try a thing that may not work. So Instagram TV, I mean, who knows? But Quibi, I mean, I don't know if we're associated with Quibi, but like that could be a thing. In terms of content, though, Eater is in a very unique position because we have the foothold of all our maps, and that's really what drives traffic to the site. We have, I mean, I know we were talking about it, like 45 places to take your one-legged grandmother, right?
Very specific. Like, as laughable as that is, that's generally very specific, but it does so well.
And then we have our big 38s from every city.
Yep. Why 38, by the way? I've always wanted to know why 38.
The answer I got was pick a number and stick with it, and then make it a thing.
Sure. And it's done what? 38.
I can't remember who it was.
I want to know how long that deliberating boardroom took 38. Did someone just go, 38? Or was it like, no, it's going to be 37, it's going to be 29?
I don't know if Amanda, actually, who I host the podcast with, the editor-in-chief, I don't know if she was in the room for that. Sure. But if she was, she would be like, okay, everyone suggest a number, and then everyone would suggest a number, and then someone said 38, and she's like, it's 38, and that's it. Like that, she's like that.
Is she?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
She's like that.
That's great.
She's the best decision maker I've ever been around.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, but recently, some publication, I don't remember who it was like the 38 best restaurants in Tampa or something, and we're like, whoa.
Yeah. You should have IP'd that, man. Right?
I think as you would know, be known for a thing.
Yes.
So what's interesting about Eater, though, is I wouldn't say Eater as a whole strives to stay relevant, but the individual sections of it are all trying to do their own thing. So, I mean, about YouTube, like what we do on YouTube is like, we have to battle, do we grow on YouTube because we know how to do that, or do we grow in a direction that is following Eater's editorial direction, right? Like Eater as a brand is not trying to do every single Eater written, Eater editorial, Eater.com as we call it. .com's not trying to do 1,000 pieces about dry aged steak, right? But we know on YouTube that if we just spam the internet with dry aged steak, eventually we could be the biggest channel out there, you know, like bigger than PewDiePie if we dry age steak for long enough. So it's always that battle. Like,
so you're saying that if you're much more broad in your content, it takes longer to build, but the end result is better? Is that what you're saying?
If our content on video totally aligned with our content on the editorial platform, then it would not grow as fast.
Right.
Because that's not what YouTube wants, and YouTube's very democratic.
Sure.
YouTube audiences want a thing.
So you're talking about actually understanding your audience a bit here, which is really topical.
I know your question is about how to stay relevant, and I'm really trying to think about it. I think it's more with trying to stay relevant. I think I will say that people get caught up too much on Twitter, and they're chasing what Twitter thinks is cool, and that doesn't usually inform traffic. But trying to stay relevant is really just, I think, being on all the platforms and seeing what's going on there. But what I'm actually more interested in what people can do on their own, because like you mentioned, what would I do on Eater if people come to Eater and they want to be a thing, right? Like I want to be Daniel Geneen, you might know him from Eater or wherever. That never works. Like you have to go and say, how can I add to Eater? You can never go to one of those places and try to be an influential person. You really have to, like, the reason I got in, legitimately, I'm the most brilliant fucking person on the planet. I'm the funniest fucking person on the planet. I got into Eater because I can edit audio. So people that come to me and they're like, I want to be a thing. I'm like, what unique skill can you offer to a big brand that they don't already have? Right now, a lot of people need video editors, or a lot of people need shooters. So like, that's a good way. Yeah, if you think you want to do comedy food videos, or you want to do, I don't know, like tell stories about Halloween or whatever, and you're the best person to do that, like no one's gonna give a shit. But the second you can shoot and edit and you're in those meetings and be like, I can do stories about, I don't know, eating hot dogs, then you're gonna get listened to because you're already in there. On your own, I think it's exactly what we've been talking about. You gotta pick one thing. I was talking to someone on the phone the other day and she was like, I really want to get into food media. What do I do? And I said, what do you know a lot about? Like, you're from San Francisco. You eat at San Francisco restaurants. What do you know a lot about? I mean, like, I was like, are you vegan? Do you eat rabbit? Like, do you know, I mean, whatever. Like, what is a kind of thing? Who are 3 chefs that you know? What is like an interesting story that only you would know about San Francisco? And she's like, I don't know. I was like, what pieces do you want to write? She's like, I don't know. I just want to write about food. I just love food. I eat food all the time. And I was like, oh, cool. Just, you gotta find a niche. I spitballed this and no one steal this because it's hers, but I was like, why don't you start an Instagram where you go into restaurants, every restaurant you go to, you pick a thing, like pick a fork or pick a mirror or pick something to do with the restaurant that people aren't looking at, and ask the manager, ask one of the owners, what's the story behind this fork? Start an Instagram where you have, here is the fork from Charlie Street. It happened because Dan was like in India and saw these forks that he really liked, and he brought them. And it was really hard for him to source more, so he actually had to get them like custom made at a factory to match the exact one. And it's like, it's a thing he really cares about that no one ever asks about. I was like, find a unique angle to talk about restaurants, or to talk about food, or to talk about fucking anything that no one's doing. And then that's a thing you could get noticed, because then you're fork girl. You know, then you're like cutlery person, or like, I was like, I told someone the other day, like, go around to every restaurant you see and take pictures of the employees must wash hands sign. Like, if you do that at every restaurant, I mean, even if you just look at those signs in every restaurant, that'll tell you something interesting about the restaurant. And so I think if you want to get into Bon App, if you want to get into Eater, if you want to get into like Thrillist, one of the big dogs, you can't go in there telling them you want to star in things. Like, you can't go in there saying you want to be famous. You got to go in there saying, I'm a fantastic editor, and here are the pieces. Like, I'm a fantastic anything, and here is a thing that you do that I can make better, or I can make easier, or here's work that you guys send out for freelance that I can take off your plate. And it's the same, it's not a food thing. So like, loving brownies doesn't make me more confident that you are going to be a good food media employee. You know, just because you eat, it's a thing that always drives me nuts. And please stop me because now I'm going off, but like,
I'm loving this.
People who just call themselves foodies and say that's a hobby because they spend a lot of money at restaurants, that doesn't establish you as a foodie. Like, I'm not good at shopping because I can buy a lot of clothes. You know, like, it's one of the ways that people fulfill themselves now, and they find meaning. And there's nothing wrong with that. I love restaurants and I love people going to restaurants, but you can't define yourself as a foodie just because you go around and spend money at restaurants. Like, learn about the thing, learn something about the thing that no one else knows, and then maybe you have something. And just pitch articles, write articles. Like, even if you know, like, just write about something and have something done. And sorry, that's frustration, just venting. But I just want to help all these people. And they're like, I just want to do it. And it's like, what do you want to do? And they're like, I just want to be involved. And like, join a club, you know? Why don't you go play volleyball? You can be involved. Join the NYC kickball. Tell me about your freaking kickball team. I will listen to kickball. I hate kickball. Kickball is the stupidest thing. It's people that want to be friends. I mean, good for them. I think be friends. Like, that's nice. I think friends are great. So I take that back. But kickball is a dumb sport. And like, why don't you guys you should just join a league where you all sit at a table and talk. Kickball sucks.
Kickball was like my, I think it was always a passion to want to ever play when I was in Australia. We've always seen it on, like, I guess, comedy shows and stuff. So
it's a comedic sport.
Yeah, mate. Can I just say, as funny as you are, that last 7 minutes was awesome. Like, that really was, because I feel like I played part-time psychologist, part-time bloke, but also just, that was honesty, man. How often would you get hit up with food media questions throughout the week?
About once or twice a week.
Yep.
Someone will say, I mean, there's just all the different ways of doing it. And I 100% respect it. I think anyone who DMs anyone or like emails anyone being like, hey, I would just love to chat, keep doing that. But I think, once or twice a week I get like, I would just love to hear like what goes into making the podcast, or like what your typical day is like.
Sure. And I think it's really important for people to understand, because there's a few people listening right now who definitely would be interested in food media. When you're doing this, you've also got to think that the people you're talking to may actually still be trying to get to the place that that person is wanting to get to. So like, it's not a disrespectful thing, but take into account, like, say Dan wanted to have his own show, which you're now doing, that's something that you battled so hard for. So when people say, hey, I really want to be doing this, it's apparent that you have to understand that you got a seat at the table by showing a point of difference. It may not be the seat at the table you initially wanted, but you want a seat at the table. Then it took you X amount of years to get to where you are, and now you're doing this. So it's not disrespectful by saying, I just want to do that, taking away the fact that the years you're taking on. It's more of a realization. Ultimately, work hard.
Yeah.
Like, just work hard. I can't, like, people, laziness is something that probably frustrates me the most about anyone. And that's because I know how much people struggle and work hard for and still struggle. And so when I see people who are lazy and say they want to work hard or be something, that frustrates me. So I can understand where you're coming from in that regard. It's so, like, yesterday, perfect example. So last week I had a morning show, came back from the morning show. We were down a chef. I jumped in the kitchen. I then had a podcast, set everything up. Ty helped me out with that. After that, I had to do dishes for the rest of the day. So I did morning show in the morning where everyone's like, Dan's on Good Morning America, which is awesome. But you still got to be that person that's still going to bust ass the whole day.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter how much you're earning or what is if you really want to get somewhere, got to work hard. And especially
your mindset shift though. Are you like, because one thing I struggle with, are you washing dishes and just being like, this is crazy. I was on Good Morning America this morning and now I'm washing. Like, how do you?
Absolutely not. I was saying this to my girlfriend last night. The reason why I do it is I've got to lead by example. Right. If I am washing dishes, like, the person who runs this place, the person's meant to be the big person of this enterprise. If I'm doing it, that means no one is beneath doing this job.
Yeah. And
it also shows that I am just as equal to this job as anyone.
Yeah.
So this is just as important.
No, I think that's fantastic.
And that's the way you've got to do it though, because one of my awesome dishwashers came in today and was like, I'm not happy about this being in the situation. I'm going to be here until X amount of time. I went and saw a show with my girlfriend last night. After the show, I came back and washed dishes because we didn't have a dishwasher.
Right.
So I got home at 12:30 last night, got here at whatever time. But that's what you got to do. And I'm not afraid. It doesn't matter how many brand deals I do or whatever it is or whatever, how many podcasts or awesome people get in. You have.
What are other things I've done, by the way?
Amazing. Well, you actually, we'll touch about that. Yeah. But I think the point we're trying to make here is you just got to work hard.
You just got to work hard, and you can't ever consider different tasks of a different level.
No.
Ever.
Absolutely not.
I mean, like I had a long day also yesterday,
Sure.
and at the end of it, I did the thing that like typically would be reserved for my like PA.
Sure. What was that? What did you do?
I mean, I finished the editing or finished the mixing of, and it's just because I know audio, but I love to do it. That's also because I'm a bit of a control freak. So.
Yeah, but that also sets an example for the rest of the team.
Yeah.
And so like they know that's what has to be done. And so if you do it, it's like fuck. Like if Dan's doing it,
yeah.
As much as funny as you are, it also sets an example.
Stop! Oh my god! If you keep telling me I'm funny, I'm gonna start pretending that you did a good job with the lotus root. Can I? Just two things though. One, I fucking love when people email me and they're like, I want to host. They're like, I don't want to know, I want to host a show because I can just ignore that email.
Sure.
I want people who email me like, I want to come and help research stories. Then cool. Then I'll talk to you. But if you're like, I want to come in and so that's one thing that's great. Two, just like everyone who's funny, the majority, like disproportionately, people who are funny and talented come from Canada. Look at the actual best chefs in New York and around America. I mean, I don't know about the rest of the world. And I guarantee you a disproportionate percentage of them, if not like 95, started as dishwashers.
Absolutely. And it's because they're humble beginnings.
Yeah.
They know what they have to do.
They weren't some idiot like me who's like, I got a little bit, I'm going to go to culinary school because like I'm so interested in the kitchen. They did it because they were obsessed with the thing, and that was how they could give value to the restaurant.
Absolutely.
How's this coming, bro?
Mate, I'm firstly excited by he's referring to the sauce, ladies and gentlemen. The sauce is looking.
Talking about me? No.
Oh no.
No. Come on.
Well, you know what actually I'm super excited by? The sauce is split, which is in curry is what you want.
Okay.
See the oil on the top? Have you ever noticed that when you're like an Indian restaurant?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So the splitting is actually.
I've been eating it bad Indian.
No, that's actually a really good sign. So that's where the oil is separated, and yet that's actually pockets full of flavor.
Right.
It's called tadka. Have you ever heard of a tadka?
Tadka, no.
It's like an Indian cooking technique where they actually say they put down your dal and then whatever, maybe or a korma, they'll in a smaller fry pan cook off some oil and add some spices to it, and then pour that over the top of the dal, and that's called tadka.
Cool.
And it's really there you go.
That's I mean, thank you for that.
You're welcome. Researching Indian food right now.
And you're gonna save me because I'm gonna be able to whip that out somewhere. Can I tell you that what is a thing that's funny to me is like the vegan, paleo, like health community now knowing so much about Indian food just because Indian cooks a lot of vegetarian.
Right.
And it's just like all these fucking surfer bros are like, oh, tadka. I mean, not saying you, but like.
Definitely not. Surfer bro looking at me, tadka. Oh, God. Nice.
Like, dude, dope doll, dude. Anyway,
am I California now? Is that it?
No. Listen, this is. Sometimes when I do videos of fancy restaurant, like fine dining places, and I'll see, I've worked in kitchens, eaten a lot of food, so I'm like pretty familiar with food. But sometimes when sauces are split, that's one time where I'll be like, is the chef fucking up?
Yeah.
Or like, is that an intentionally split sauce? Sure.
No, definitely.
So that's a funny.
Well, I'm not actually,
I believe you.
There you go.
Obviously.
And it's all about the conviction, right? Or like
even if you were wrong,
you tell me about it.
If you lied about that, you would be a sociopath because that was
thanks, man.
So
Appreciate it. I'll say it's a compliment, mate. Let's quickly talk about specifics of what you're always looking for in articles, and what you find is, I guess, more apparent to eater as opposed to trends. I think that's really important to make an association with. So you said you've got all your weird, unique SEO things that you build out, but what about stories? Like, I think one of the coolest things about Eater in general is definitely for me, as I said, I go on there to research new restaurants. So that's great. But what about those unique articles and whatnot? Do stories come to you, or do you go out and research them? And the ones that you're researching for, what are you looking for?
I think in general, Eater's looking for ways, food-specific ways that capitalism is destroying the world.
Yeah.
I mean, no, but
but that was good.
No, I mean, I'm half kidding, but like there's a story that I've always wanted to write about problems with big beef and what makes Eater stories.
Actually, how do you feel about that? And this is Dan, not Eater. How do you feel about the whole beef situation? And like, we've got a plant-based chorizo that we're making now. Obviously got Beyond Meat doing really good things, and Impossible Burger. Where do you stand? And what are your thoughts?
I mean, I'm so gullible. I did not think about meat really until 2 weeks ago. And I've spent a lot of time dealing with the team from Impossible,
Sure.
talking to Pat Brown, talking to their Rachel Conrad, who's their communications person. And honestly, I'm so freaking sold. I believe, I mean, I need to do a lot more research, but it seems to me at this point that the most important thing we can do in terms of preserving this planet is to cut down on our meat consumption, and if not, eradicate it entirely.
Yep.
And I think that I love, I mean, I told you this before, but I love the way that Impossible is getting shit. Be like, dude, no one wants, like, just make other things. We don't need it to be a burger. And
I love how Surfer Bro comes in every now
always. I can do Jersey too, but
sick.
But the thing is with Impossible is they just want to get their burgers. They just want people eating their patty instead of what they're already eating. So they're not thinking, let's make a new product. They're thinking, how can we sub this out? How can we cheat the system a little bit?
Yeah.
And I think that conversation is really funny. I mean, what's interesting to me is the difference, like now that Impossible and Beyond are a huge success story, they're very eater relevant. You know, some upstart veggie-based burgers that are kind of like, hey, look at us. This is what we do for the environment. We're like, you know, selling it at Whole Foods in Pennsylvania. No one gives a shit. But the second that Impossible and Beyond became juggernauts, now they've got the eye of Sauron. Now they've got eaters' attention. 100%.
Isn't that exciting though?
I think that's great. But so I think in your response to what are real eater story, like I don't know who else covers them as closely as we do.
Definitely.
And that's from a national perspective.
Definitely.
On a city by city, well, I'll tell us. It's so much about, you have to understand a city's context, right? Like you have to understand why is it relevant that the former chef of Chumley's is now taken over Gotham Steakhouse, and that is I don't know if this really answers your question.
No,
but
it does.
The difference between reading eater and not reading eater and like knowing the eater mindset is like, to us, that's a big story.
Huge.
Like Gotham, legendary restaurant, was run by Alfred Bortel or whatever for like forever. Now taken over by a woman who did a great job at Chumley's, was kind of like, and like, so that's juicy in the food world on the city level.
So would you say your audience is very in the know of food specific and chef orientated media?
I will say the national audience is very different from the local audience.
Of course.
But the local audience, the people who really read Eater, I mean, you get a lot of sales guys who are like, I just need the newest places to take my clients.
Gotcha.
I want to take my clients to the coolest places. I need Eater, that inbox every day, so that I can be different from whoever else is trying to sell them. I'm like, we're going to the grill and it just opened or whatever. But yeah, our core clientele, it's actually a thing that I've talked about. Sometimes if I go to a party and I'll cling on to like the foodie, and I'll be like, oh dude, you done like St. Juliver yet? Oh yeah, like it was great when she was there, not when she, but like I try to avoid those, especially on like dating apps and shit.
Oh shit.
Oh God, you have no idea. It's like, I had I saw someone's profile the other day that was like, what do you prefer, Via Carota or Lilia? And it was like, it's crazy to me how much that tells me about that person.
Oh my God, that ruined your dating life, just knowing food?
My dating life was ruined a long time ago and had nothing to do with food. But I think that's a pretty big fundamental difference. And yeah, that is definitive of the eater reader.
I love that, man. Well, I want to hear a bit more about your podcast, which is Eater's Digest.
I want to talk to you about health.
Okay.
Eater's Digest is the podcast. I meant to plug it. I mean, I'm bad at it.
We're going to talk about that and health, and we'll do that after our next break, which is right now as we look at our beautiful split simmered lotus curry sauce.
Oh, yeah. Split like an Olympian gymnast.
All right, we're back. My man, let's talk quickly about the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So you are a co-host with the editor-in-chief.
The EIC. I always, another piece of advice is when you do something, do it with as important a person as you can, because then they'll make sure it keeps happening, and they'll ride for you. So if you could open a restaurant with like Obama or something, I would recommend doing that.
That's a really great piece of advice.
Yeah.
So
even let them buy in for free.
You reckon?
Yeah.
Like just as sweat equity of their value add. Yeah, nice. Okay.
But yeah, I do it with Amanda.
And it's been how long have you been doing that for?
We did version 1 about 2 years ago. We started, and it was like a constantly evolving, changing thing. We got better at screwing with each other and like talking about issues of the day. Eventually, it just became a thing where we would talk about anything and everything that came up in the media that week or that month. And for about 2 months, we've rebranded it. We call it Eater's Digest, and I feel like we finally figured out what the format is, where we do 20 minutes up top, like a meat and three, 20 minutes up top of a chunky thing, whatever it is. Next week's actually about the Impossible Burger and the Rise. And
Did you go to the dinner?
No, I went to their opening at Fairway.
Yeah.
Which is probably, I guess the dinner was probably cooler, but who knows. Anyway.
We both didn't go, so it's all
we
good.
both didn't
we weren't
go.
cool enough.
No, neither of us were good enough. And then 3 or 4 things that have come up that week that are anything from like me complaining about how food media people posture really hard when going to Thai restaurants and refuse to order pad Thai. Or, we'll talk about what's going on with Dave Chang and business and, the Stephen Ross investment. So
that was very interesting, wasn't it?
Yeah, a range of political and a range of intensities, but I really like it when I personally really like it when it's like as silly and fun and with some takeaways, but I want it to be like, it's just the thing I want to listen to, which is like a fun subway ride.
Do you listen to yourself afterwards?
I listen to some of them a bunch of times.
Cool.
When I say something really silly, I get a kick out of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, good for you. That's so cool for you to admit. Some people are like, oh my God, I don't want to say that. But like,
mostly silly, though.
Okay.
I get a kick out of something that I say that drives Amanda nuts that she makes fun of me for.
Sure.
If I have like some genius witticism, I'm not like, play that again.
Just in your head, you're just going, I'm a genius. I'm an absolute genius. Man, that's awesome. And did you think a few years ago you'd be doing a podcast? Like, did you always want to be doing one? Or
I really, I was very influenced by talk radio. I grew up listening to talk radio. I love talk radio. I used to go to sleep listening to this show called Jay's Talk, where people would call in and tell this guy named Michael Wilbon what they were hoping, what trades they were hoping the Blue Jays, my baseball team from Toronto, would make. And we used to fuck with him so hard. We used to call, like, it would just be people being like, hey, Mike, that catcher, like, for John McDonald, he's playing real well recently. We should move him off to Arizona for, like, Corey Davis or whatever. And we used to call in, and he'd be like, that is a ridiculous, in what planet would that deal ever have? But we used to call in and just make the most ridiculous trade offers. Like, we would, like, some minor league guy who had just been in the media for, like, I don't know, hitting a deer in Maine or something, and be like, he's prominent now, we should trade him for like the #1 prospect, and we just get him riled up. But I love talk radio, and I love talk radio where you kind of start to understand the different characters in the studio, where people are talking to their producer and like yelling at the engineer because things aren't working, and that kind of whole vibe, studio feel where you just live in a thing and like people are screwing up and people are doing well. Yeah, I always really like that. So I more so than video. I mean, I love video, but more so than video because I felt like you can do anything while you listen to a podcast. So you can live in that world while walking in our, anyway. So I didn't think I'd do a podcast because podcasts are almost like cliche. Like, oh, everyone's got a podcast. But yeah, I mean, I'm pumped I'm doing it. It's
sick,
a lot
man.
of fun.
And so what's your, have you had like a favorite episode you've done?
We did one about the changing dining options at movie theaters. And like, I used to run an Instagram account called Food and Movies.
Is it still present?
No, I turned it into my own, but which it was
like every good influencer.
It was a failure. I mean, it wasn't a failure. It was ridiculous. I would take food into movie theaters and take a picture of it and talk about it.
That's cool.
Yeah, and so I love movie theaters so much, more than I love movies. I just love being in movie theaters.
Sure.
I obviously love food. So like the combination of those two things was so perfect for me. I think we landed the plane. I don't know if we really made a point other than being like, people are eating in theaters. What the hell? But I love that. I love that. Like the fact that I have a podcast episode called "Food at the Movies!" ! Like I could die happy.
That's awesome.
That.
It's almost like you transcended into a bigger medium of something. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Now let's get into some quick fire rounds.
Oh,
all right,
okay.
Here we go. This is gonna be actually gonna be very funny. I feel it's gonna be really funny, mate. What's your morning routine?
Don't set me up. I mean, my morning routine is fucking garbage. I'll tell you that. Every morning I wake up thinking today I'm gonna go to the gym before work. I wake up at 8. I meditate for significantly less time than I should. I'm a TM. I mean, I'm a transcendental meditation practitioner.
Sure.
Which means 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes at night. I probably do a total of 13 minutes a day.
That's That's 13 minutes.
I know, but 13 minutes, it makes me feel like a failure for not doing 20.
Fair.
Not like, I don't have enough time.
Is that your high standards for yourself, or
Or
do you struggle to actually, like, are you like me, struggle to sit still for 20 minutes?
No, I can do it. I'm very good on a deadline, and unfortunately, you never have a deadline to meditate. Like,
That's true. It's completely self-instructed, isn't it?
Right. So, and then I'm like, I have to be at work at 10. I'm gonna go to the gym for an hour. I end up fucking around doing something. I stroll into the gym, 9:10. I sit on the chair. I like look at something, or I'll call my brother, call my mom, talk to someone on the phone for longer than I should. And it's like 9:30, and I'm like, could I go do some like high intensity shit real quick? Or maybe, no, I should get to work. I should just steam. I end up just fucking sitting in the steam room. But I will tell you, a steam room, 90% of my jokes and 100% of the good jokes that I've come up with in stand-up I write in the steam room.
You write in the steam room?
I think things.
Okay, I was going to say, it's very physically challenging.
Yeah, remember those Fisher space pens?
Oh, yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. No, I just like conceptualize, I guess.
Sure.
And then I end up miserable, and I'm at work, and all I've done in the morning is steamed and meditated for like 6.5 minutes. And that's my morning routine.
Okay.
And then, 40 minutes in, I find a coffee, I settle in, and then between the hours of 7 p.m. and 8 p.m. when everyone's left and I have to finish my stuff by the end, I probably work 20 times faster than the average
So you're
person.
you're that person.
I don't have anything good for you.
That's great. No, that's
I
awesome.
wish
I love that though. There's nothing wrong with that. You're a nighttime person.
Yeah, I'm a nighttime person. Yeah, no, that's what I got.
That's awesome.
Is that awesome? I want to be better. I feel like
What is better though? Like why
better
am
for
I
me,
better
because,
than?
I'll tell you why. Because if you show up to work knowing that you've accomplished something, even if I was like, I want to work out tomorrow for 5 minutes before work, and then I actually do it, then I show up at 10 p.m. or 10 a.m. and I'm like, good, I checked something off the box. I'm very good at doing 66% of everything I need to do, and I never feel like I've completed everything. So when I'm in periods where I'm like up at 8 sharp, gym 8:30 to 9:30 into work, and I feel good about I have much better days. So for that reason, I believe it's better. I know that I shouldn't hold myself to a high standard.
Well, let me ask you this. There's two things there.
I mean, I'm as ripped as you, so we basically do the same shit.
Exactly.
Clearly.
So why are you less than exactly?
Right.
So either A, you times whatever your goal is, still to be 0.3 more, so you have 66% no matter what is executed.
Cool.
So if you want to do 10 push-ups, do 13 push-ups, and then you get 10.
Great.
Right. I think
that's smart.
Yeah,
okay,
right.
Cool.
You see what I'm saying? Or you actually just set yourself the task of doing what you actually asked to do. Talking about laziness before, or people calling you or whatever. You just set that self to yourself, man. Like, who's stopping you from getting up and actually going? What is it inside your head stopping you from going?
Yeah.
There's a difference. So when you tell me, there's no one being better just because they can work out what time of day I do, what more efficient. I can't be as efficient as you are at nighttime. Doesn't make me a less or a better person. But if you genuinely go, I know I should be and I want to be, that's so on you. You know what I mean? So it's like,
that makes sense.
Right. So like you are accountable for yourself. And so this leads to the next point of the conversation.
Another quick fire round? Yeah.
How do you control the controllable? I know that if I do everything that is within I need to do, I want to do for myself to be optimized for that day, I do it before I get to work at 7:30. So I have to do it before 7:30, no matter what. Because then from 7:30 onwards,
it's anyone's game.
Anyone's game.
Yeah.
Dan, I need this done, Can you help me? Blah, 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 blah. Shoot, what do you do?
How do I control the controllable?
How do you control the controllable? That's how I control the controllable of knowing that that's part of my day. I also control the controllable by taking joggers when I go for trips for work, because that means at least no matter what, I can go for a run as opposed to not having a gym. There's many ways you can control the controllable, but that doesn't have to be work related. It can be business, it can be personal related. Do you jump on?
Oh, okay. Here's what I do. I love stand-up. Stand-up is the thing I'm obsessed with right now, and awesome. I hope it to be for forever.
That's awesome.
I love to set up things that I have to be ready for. So I know right now I have a show on Saturday this weekend. And
what time? Where?
I don't know. But well, the point is like I like to set up things that I have to do at least once a week. Awesome. So if it's I know, maybe I know I have a Barry's boot camp class on Thursday or whatever. So I like to have things that no matter what, I have to get in some work before those.
Yeah.
So I like to have pillars in my calendar, especially with stand up, that I know not only do I have a show on Saturday, but I have to be out there. I can't not perform this week and then go up on Saturday. Like, I know it's a big difference between have to and should for me. I should go to the gym every morning, but I have to do at least 2 sets of comedy before I get up there on Saturday.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's honestly so cool, because
and that matters to me a lot more than the gym.
Which is nothing. Well, yeah, but what's wrong with, like, I'm all about wellness.
Yeah.
But that means to you, that is your happiness, man. That makes you feel so happy and accomplished and complete inside. And that's ultimately much greater. And this is coming from me. That's much greater than hitting the gym, because ultimately the gym is helping fulfill an aspect of your life. It's not that it gave you that 6-pack. It's meant to help fulfill you. If you're fulfilled by doing that, great. Ultimately, yes, we want to prevent heart disease and these things through what going to the gym does. But if you're happy, I'm so happy to hear that you personally, this is what really is of high importance to you. Just great. Now we just need to work on that for the morning, but you're totally fine.
Well, but one other thing that I think is important about the gym is I think that the gym is a perfect opportunity for us to every day push ourselves to fight with what our psyche is. So even if it's like I need to all out sprint for longer than I feel like I can every day, just to make sure that you know that you're in control, and it's not just like that relationship with self-control is to me the most important thing. So I try to at least, I try to at least once a day, but it's less than that. Try to at least push myself and do something that I don't want to do. And the gym is a very easy way to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Heard it here first from Dan Geneen. Man, that's awesome. The next question, final one, is my favorite.
Shit.
Yeah, dude, I think I already know the answer to this one, by the way. I'm looking at it. If you were a vegetable or fruit, a meal, or an ingredient, what would you be and why?
Oh, I remember that I'm familiar with this question, and I thought about it ahead of time.
It's not lotus fruit, is it?
No, it's not. It's probably preserved. It's probably either preserved lemon or burnt lemon rinds, like just burnt lemon rinds.
Why the latter? The form is fantastic.
Not burnt to excess.
Oh, but, right. Bitter like burnt. Yeah, gotcha. Yeah.
Right, just past brown.
Nice.
Because I think that lemon rinds are something that has been thrown away for so long, and not only do I think the flavor of it is so rich and powerful, but it's also like the story of it is great to me. That like, it's a thing that, people like them now, but it's a thing that no one gave a shit about. That's like, do a little thing to it, and even lemon peel like is actually probably one of the richest sources of flavor in out there. So I love that. It's a bit of an underdog.
Mate, that should be like not a campaign, a regular blog post for Eater. The lemon rind to the story or something like that. There you go.
My favorite dish of all time is probably potato gnocchi. I used to make it every day for like 3 weeks to try to, or 3 months to try to get it perfect. Is ricotta gnocchi, browned in a pan with butter and like really, really, really thin sliced lemon that just kind of almost burns. It's pretty bomb.
I'm actually really excited to try that.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Hit that shit.
Just straight up. Anything else? Sage or anything like that?
No, I just,
That's it. Perfect. Ricotta gnocchi is one of the easiest things to make.
Easy.
So good though. Man, I really appreciate you being here, both you and Katie. Massive fan of Eater. Really good getting to know you and actually what makes you charge. And I'm excited to actually come watch one of your shows.
Oh my God.
I'm seriously keen. Like knowing you now, the last 50 minutes or so is pretty epic. So if you're as funny as you are today, but actually meant to be funny on stage, there's an expectation.
It's funnier in person.
Is it?
You're so much more to work with.
Yeah, it's true. It's so true.
But I'm fucking, whatever. No, I will get off stage and think that I've done, and never think that I've done well. I'll have people,
That's everyone though, right?
Well, but it's terrible. But thank you so much. This was actually, this was a blast.
Fun?
Yeah, I expected it to be fun. I was expecting to feel bad that you were cooking for me the whole time.
Nah, that's actually enjoyable for my behalf.
But then it wasn't that much work, so I was like, whatever.
It's super easy.
And it wasn't
There you go, guys. So you can check out a nice little lotus root. Make sure you hit up this podcast episode. Of course, now that you've heard that there is actually an awesome Eater's Digest episode of podcasts with Dan himself, make sure you go check out and listen to that podcast. Hit subscribe on that, just like you would do on this one. Dan, until next time, my friend. Thanks.
Stay epic.
Stay epic.